Stop. He's right. If you make a move, you won't be alive. Duo pulled out 2 axes from his waist. He struck at Wuzhu. Wuzhu dodged quickly with their keen sense of hearing. Even though Haitang's strength is above the 9th grade, but it's still far from being a great master. The axes in his hands are forcing Wuzhu hard, but he was calm and unhurried. It was easy to cope with the situation. He quickly knocked him back to the shore with no effort at all. Master, I can't beat him. Go to Qing and kill Xian. Don't let him return to the capital. How can I leave? Anyone who isn't a grandmaster can leave the bitter river. I know that Wuzhu is more powerful than a grandmaster, so he told Dodo to go to Qing to kill Xian. Wuzhu didn't stop him. After he left, Wuzhu jumped into the waterfall. Into the valley of the waterfall, they fought with Bitter River. The 2 masters are on fire. How fierce can they be? Even the 9th-ranked Haidang Duo can't get close to them. Fan Xian doesn't know the danger is coming. The convoy found a hotel to rest on the way. Wang Qinian told Fan Xian the truth about his conversation with Xian. Fan Xian was shocked. He concluded that within a day, Xian will kill Wang Qinian. At that moment, Xian was polishing a bead in his hand in his cell. Fan Xian pretended to change his medicine. He took the tablet from him. He revealed to his face that he wanted to kill Wang Qinian. It was used to kill Wang Qinian. Wang Qinian thought Xian's hands were tied. He didn't have a chance to kill him. But when Fan Xian showed him the bamboo tablet, Wang Qinian broke out in a cold sweat. But sir, I don't understand. Why would he want to kill me? You've seen Xian's life, right? They said he's cruel and vicious. In order to prevent leaks, he decided to travel from Songzhou to the 7 Kingdoms. But the route Fan Xian had just decided on. Yin Shaohui wanted to avenge Li Yunrui's death. He didn't say a word. He led his men to Songzhou to assassinate Fan Xian's men. Although he was warned that crossing the border is a serious offense, Yin Shaohui couldn't listen. He just told them, if he left, they'll be punished along with him. Their lives would be in danger. If they go with him, he'll make sure they're safe. They decided to go with Yin Shaohui to assassinate Fan Xian. At that moment, Fan Xian came to Sri Li's car. Sully saw that Fan Xian was tired. He was heartbroken. He offered to give Fan a massage. I'll give you a massage. Thank you, ma'am. Fan Xian is having his mistress give him a spa treatment. He's completely thrown his fiancé's agreement out the window. Sri also talked about some past events. From the first moment I saw Fan Xian, she was attracted to him. But Fan Xian turned around and revealed his plan. You little girl, I treated you like my own people. Now you're trying to hurt me? Fan Xian calmed her down. Sri finally lowered her weapon. She surrendered her life to Fan Xian. But on the other hand, Shen Pingping promised to send Blackie to keep him safe. But just as Fan Xian left the city, Shen Pingping ordered all black troop around Fan to be removed. What are you doing to Fan Xian? He's a smart man. I've spent a lot of time trying to convince him to trust me. Without Black's protection, Fan Xian's only fighting force is the men he's given to him. The best of them is an 8th grade Gauda, and the enemy he's facing, a 9th grade Northern Qi war god, and a 9th grade Northern Qi sage. Naturally, Fan Xian wouldn't just sit back and wait. He staged his own rescue. He created an opportunity for Xian to escape. Then he arranged for Wang Qinian to follow Xian at all times. Although Wang Qinian is not a great martial artist, but he's above the 9th rank in his lightness. He lured Xian to a steep mountain stream. Fan Xian, who was already in ambush, descended from the sky. But after years in prison, Xian's strength was already terrifying. He soon had Fan Xian on the ground, and at the same time, he pushed Fan Xian to his limits. He raised his strength to the 9th rank. In the Fan Xian's desperate fighting style, they were both injured. Then they Danzhou? I grew up in Danzhou. Xian learned that he grew up in Danzhou. But before Fan Xian could react, Haitang Duo stopped by with a fruit basket. Fan Xian thought she was here to save Xian. He threatened his life. But Duo Tong claimed he was also here to kill Xian. If you step forward, I'll kill him. Go ahead. Fan Xian, who just turned 9th grade, fought with Haidang Duo. They fought for dozens of rounds. He was clearly defeated. At the end, he used some second-rate tactics. Oh, right? This is for you. Fan Xian tossed the jade pendant to Haidang. The jade pendant gave off a mysterious message. Haitang was caught off guard. Fan Xian used this opportunity to attack again. He took out his double axes and returned fire. Seeing that he couldn't defeat him, he called a halt. He praised Haidang again. But while they were talking, a sharp sword came through the air. Haidang Duo chopped it off. It turned out that Yin Shaohui wanted to take advantage of Fan Xian's absence. He wanted to kill him for Li Yunrui. Fan Xian took Haidang and hid behind a rock. He wanted to divert Yin Shaohui's hatred to Haidang. Northern Qi's Holy Maiden, Haitang Duo Yin Tong Yang. Kill the Holy Maiden. It's a great chance to make the army famous. But just as Yin Shaohui was about to make his second move, Shangshan Tiger arrived with a large group of men. Father, long time no see. One more step forward, great general. You'll have to wait for your father's death. All of the top 9th grade masters are gathered here. Fan Xian wanted to fight. but he didn't last a single round under the upper coral. He was beaten back, and then the fight was one-sided. Fan Xin couldn't defeat Xian Hu at all. Just as he was about to kill, Xian suddenly stopped him. On the way back to Northern Qi, Tiger was stopped by Yin Shaoyi and his men. He threatened that he had nothing to do with Tiger's rescue of Xian. He only wanted to kill Fan Xin, but Xian refused. The two sides are fighting. Xian Tiger told Xian to go north. He stopped Yin Xiaoyu, but just as he was escaping, Wu Baoquan, who had been chasing Fan Xin for a long time, suddenly appeared. He wanted to kill Fan Xin to avenge his father's death. Instead, he helped him cut the ropes. "Thank you, Mr. Gua. This is my sword. Wu sent me a knife, you thief." By now, Yin Shaoyi had gotten away from the coral. He's already chased him here. He's going to take Fan Xian's head today. Fan Xin knew there was nothing he could do, so he called out to Haitang Duo. He hoped she could help. Yin Shaoyi is the only drunken rival in the world. If we don't kill him now, the Northern Qi will suffer many casualties on the battlefield. Who can help? It's a matter of national justice. We mustn't give in. Poisoning won't work. But it's not poison. Then what is it? An aphrodisiac. Fan Xian knows he's no match for Haitang Duo. He lied and said he'd given him an aphrodisiac. It wasn't long before Haitang Duo's blood rushed to her feet. She blushed and her heart skipped a beat. "You'd better go now in order not to make a fool of myself. I had to retreat first." The guards of the mission also found Xian's trail. Wang Qini and had to explain to them Xian risked his life to bring him back. And he did it. He only wanted to hear his mother's story from Xian. Xiaoan reminded him to find more accomplices. Don't rely on Qin Pingping as your only source of support. Fan Xian thought about it for a while. He doesn't know what he means by that. But after Wang Qinian checked, there's no sign of the black pieces in 4 weeks. That means Qin Pingping didn't send black chests to protect him. While they were talking, Sly came down from the car. He also heard Fan Xian drug Haitang Duo. He couldn't help but sneer at him. "You're carrying aphrodisiacs with you. You really aren't a gentleman. May I ask, Lord Fan? I'm the only woman in this delegation. Who are you carrying this drug for?" "This is not what you think." Fan Xian was about to explain, but then a volley of bullets came his way. Sly defied the danger. Sri deflected an arrow for Fan Xian. Yin Shaoyi missed. Xian carried Sri to the car. Luckily, Fan Xian is a skilled healer. "Take off her clothes." He quickly treated her wounds. But when Sri woke up, she asked who undressed her. Fan Xian became shy again. "Then why are you carrying drugs with you? That's not an aphrodisiac." "No, it's not." It wasn't long before Duo came to Fan Xian for the antidote. Fan Xian had time to explain. What she used wasn't an aphrodisiac. It's a drug to boost her metabolism. Xian knows that Haitang is not a murderer, but he can't disobey his orders. "I have to kill Xian." But Fan Xian is not someone to be trifled with. Finally, under his persuasion, Haitang decided not to kill Xian. And Fan Xian was out for so long. Gado was so anxious. He was afraid that something bad might happen to him. Wang Qinian understood this better than he did. This Northern Qi holy maiden is very powerful. They've turned enemies into friends. That's too fast, isn't it? It's amazing. With an adult's sense of celebration. They're probably eating fruit together. Xinzhong, he looks like a loyal and honest man. In fact, he's treacherous and smart. Because the next moment he's going to cut Xian's legs in public. Fan Xian was instantly flabbergasted, as Xinzhong dragged Xian like a dog. Then he realized why everyone told him to watch out for Xinzhong. And the sisters in the palace. Can't stand how he's so cruel to his own family. She said she'd report him to the Empress Dowager when she got back. Xinzhong looked serious, then killed her in the woods. Xinzhong wiped the blood off his hands. This kind of cunning is extraordinary. It made Fan Xian pay more attention to him. Then he called Fan Xian aside. He told him the purpose of his trip. Even the poison of the red sleeve strike on Sri's body. He knew about it. This made Fan Xian take a breath of cold air. He realized if he wanted to save Yin Bingyun, he must find a way to get rid of Xinzhong. All my missions to the North Pole, Xinzhong has guessed everything. It's a true story. Fan Xian was still pondering how to deal with Xinzhong. Suddenly a man in black broke into the Arctic camp. His purpose was to assassinate Xian, but he fell into Xian's trap. In order not to reveal his identity, he had to hide in the Qing camp. "There's no one in the tent behind me." Who else could it be? The saintly woman who got emotional. Fan Xian guessed that the man in black was Duo Tang. Xinzhong came after her. Fan Xian was trying to escape. He claimed the assassin was in his tent. He purposely opened the curtain to let him in to search. Xinzhong was afraid that he was an envoy. Fan Xian ate groundnuts with him. During the conversation, Fan Xian learned that the Emperor and Empress of Northern Qi were fighting over military power. He was a general in name only. In reality, he only had 100 soldiers with him. In fact, he was promoted and demoted. He was stripped of his military power, and he treated Xian this way so that he can ask him for his secret. "We're almost at the capital. Lord Fan, don't make this difficult for me. Here you go. Enjoy it. Haitang Duo heard them from inside the tent. The court of Northern Qi is in chaos. Fan Xian and Duo Haitang have formed an alliance to disrupt the Northern Qi government, so he could free Yin Bingyun. But when they arrived at the gate, Xiangshan Tiger guarded the gate. I want to see him. Who does the general want to see? My righteous father? Who is the general's righteous father? Xian, you're really different from the general's son. Where is he? He's here. Open the cage in front of the tiger. He admitted that he ruined Xian's legs. Tiger was so angry, but in front of the capital, he could not do anything about it. Give me the man. I'm afraid I can't. How dare you disobey? General, you don't know. His Majesty and the Empress Dowager of Northern Qi have ordered me to imprison Xiaoan. They want me to lock up Xiaoan in the Jinyue. I can't disobey an order. Today we bring you Joy of Life, Qing Yu Nian, a famous Chinese costume comedy drama released in 2019. Season 2 will be out in May 2024. Stay tuned. In the last video we talked about the disciplines of the Grandmaster, Baiqi's Holy Maiden, Haitang Daodu allied with the young Emperor of Northern Qi, War Dodo. Fan successfully rescued Yin Bianyun from the Jinyue. At the same time, they decided to team up with Xian's righteous son, Shang Shanhu. To save Xian, he also made a promise. Once Xian is rescued, Qin will be a place to receive Tiger's followers. Both sides agreed, but they both have their own agenda. Upper Mountain Tiger can tell Fan Xian is using himself to kill Xian Zhong. After ensuring Xian's safety, they will kill Fan Xian on the spot, then they'll head to the border to gather the army. As for Fan Xian's real intention, naturally, he was trying to get the tiger to join him, so that they can join forces against Xian Zhong, creating a situation where the two tigers are fighting. No matter which one loses in the end, it's always a win for him. Fan Xian thought his plan was perfect. By Yin Bianyun's words, from the clouds into the dust. Before Wang Jingyang was ordered by him to retrieve the inner treasury's store account book in Shangjing. Yi Bianyun carefully examined and found the details of this book doesn't match the data sent to the supervisory yuan. Someone in the middle is secretly smuggling large sums of money and secretly sent it to Qing. Perhaps it was the handiwork of the princess, and this money has accumulated over time, enough to support a battalion of private soldiers. Fan Xian was shocked and confused. The original intention of this plan is to join hands with the little emperor to take advantage of the mountain tiger's hatred for Xian Zhong to bring him down. But now there's such an incident. Although he and Xian Zhong had different positions, they haven't been in contact for a long time. But he could tell he's not a greedy person. Since Xian Zhong agreed to help Li Yunrui smuggle, this will definitely cause chaos in Qing. What Yin Bianyun wants from Fan Xian is try to find out what the money is really for. When Fan Xian heard this, he was so angry. To extract a confession from an important official of Northern Qi, that's like asking for his own death. Ever since he entered Northern Qi's territory, he's been planning this move for a long time. What if Yin Bianyun's words are just a whisper? All his previous plans will be overturned and start all over again? When Fan Xian calmed down, he had to admit Yin Bianyun's words may not sound good, but they do make sense. But no matter what, the plan to kill Xian Zhong is ready to be executed. All that's left to do is to take action. There's no way he can change it now. He can only focus his attention. Focus on tomorrow's action. At the same time, Fan Xian also told Wang Qinian, before he returns to the post, to keep an eye on Yin Bianyun's every move. The next day, Xiangshan Tiger and his team searched for the address he gave before the meal. They arrived at the place where Xiaoan was trapped. They followed the plan, but they never expected. Xin Zhong had gotten the news in advance. He'd already ambushed the neighborhood with his men. He was waiting for the tiger to come and get them. The only explanation is that Fan Xian betrayed them. By the time Tiger reacted, Xin Zhong's men had surrounded the entire courtyard. The situation was critical. After all, as a 9th grade master, it's not difficult for him to break out of the encirclement. When he arrived with his men, I saw Tan Wu carrying Xian on his back, and a group of dead things behind him. He was not surprised by the absence of the tiger. Anyway, from the beginning, he kept Xian to kill him, in order to lure Shang Shanhu to rescue him and Tan Wu as his personal guard. Even though he repeatedly denied he has nothing to do with Shang Shanhu, the divine evidence is enough to convict him in front of the Empress Dowager, to convict him of leading a foreign army to commit a crime, even if he and the guards want to die, so as not to implicate Tiger in the trial. But as long as the corpses of the corrupt and others are there, it's still a piece of hard evidence. So they poured kerosene on their bodies in advance. Their faces were destroyed by the fire. Naturally, there's no more evidence of them. Even though the heart is heavy as a god to see such a magnificent awakening, Shen Zhong can't help but feel a sigh of relief. A soldier with such a strong dignity. It's a blessing for the nation. After extinguishing the fire, they carefully examined the corpses. One of them had the exact same body shape as Xian, and the position of his legs is accurate. It's gotta be him. That's right. The first thing he did when he got back to Upper Kingsfield was to go straight to the general's mansion. He told the mountain that Xian was buried in the fire. He couldn't help but be pleased with himself. Xinzhong knows that Xian is already in a difficult position. There's no place for him, but he was afraid of not being able to explain to the Empress Dowager. That's why he didn't kill Xian. Now, some thieves have robbed the prison. Xian is dead. That's exactly what he wants. Other than that, Xinzhong had already predicted the backstabbing of the tiger. So he sent Wolf Escape and Riverman to guard the situation. As long as Xian didn't die on the spot, the two 9th grade masters will fight against him. He wouldn't have a chance to survive. After saying this, Xinzhong turned around and left with a high hand. No matter who was killed in the fire, is the real Xian or not, his goal has been achieved, but unfortunately, this tiger is more patient than he expected. He still refused to make a move against him. Otherwise, based on the charge of murdering an important official, would be enough to condemn Tiger to death. On the other hand, the corpses of the soldiers were sent to the back of the mountain to be buried. But no one noticed there was a dead man inside. It turned out that under the cover of Tan Wu Xiao, Xian lay down in the pile of dead people silently. That's how he managed to hide it from the others. After he confirmed that he had avoided Shan Chang's eyes, he stumbled out of the back of the mountain. Fan Xian, who was right behind him, saw it. Xian wanted to take a detour back to the general's residence, but he didn't get far. He was stopped by 9th grade master He Daoren. After all, age is not forgiving. Not to mention he was in Xianzhong's hands. His old wounds were compounded by new ones. How can he compete with a 9th grade He Daoren? For Fan Xian's sake, he didn't kill Xian directly. Instead, he made a mistake. He let him go. But not far away waiting for Xian is the other 9th grade master, Lang Tao. If it wasn't for the masked Fan Xian's timely arrival, Xian would have been killed on the spot. Plus He Daoren's secret help. He pretended to attack Fan Xian. In fact, he covered for them to fall off the cliff. That's how they escaped. Tao didn't see anything in it. He'd already severed his opponent's heart. Obviously, no one could have saved Xian's life. Fan Xian knows Xian will be dead for sure. He just stopped his bleeding. Xian looked relieved. Even though Fan Xian's original intention was to save him, he only wanted to continue his cooperation with the tiger. He didn't want his secret to be unrevealed forever. In fact, Fan Xian just couldn't understand on the way to Northern Qi. He tried to dig out the so-called secret from Sieb, but the other party suddenly chose to tell the truth. Perhaps Xian was touched by Fan's last words. He finally decided to tell the truth. In fact, they weren't just the same kind of people. Fan Xian still has the blood of the Xiao family in his veins. Looking at Chen, Fan Xian, who was stuttering, continued. When Chen Pinliang attacked Northern Qi in the battle to protect Xiaoan, he paid the price of his legs to win the battle, and Xian's son and daughter-in-law were killed on the spot. Everyone thought that the Xiao family line was dead, but in fact Xian's son, Chengjin Shallow, once met a woman in the land of Yanhua. When she became pregnant, she ransomed him. He hid her in his private house. When Xian found out about it, he ordered his son to break off contact with the woman. He mentioned that after he was caught in the dungeon of the supervisory Yu on the matter of the son of Mansei. After all, it didn't escape Qin Mingming's eyes. Over the years, civilian Qian has been using bits of news about the child to test Xian to lure him into revealing his deepest secret. Not only that, civilian Qin also threatened he will train the last bloodline of the Xiao family to become the North Pole. Qin Pinpin is still cautious. There was never any clear mention of where the boy was being fostered, but Xian knew the map of Qing quite well, based on the scattered clues given by the other party, by comparing and eliminating them one by one. That's how he was able to confirm that the kid was in Danzhou. Fair enough. His own grandson was raised in Danzhou, just like Fan Xian. That's obviously not enough. So on the way back to the North Qi, Xiaoan made a number of attempts, and when Qin Pingping saw Fan Xian in danger, Qin Pingping withdrew his black pieces at a time when Fan Xian was in danger. Fan Xian was left alone. He became more and more certain. If Fan Xian didn't know his mother well, who created the Innery treasure and made a name for herself in Qing, Xian's reasoning was reasonable enough to convince him. It was reasonable enough to convince her. That's why he stopped the tiger from killing Fan Xian. If not for the fact that Xian's face is now long gone, I'm afraid he wouldn't be able to tell the truth so easily. And what Xian is going to say next is the secret that Pingping wanted to find out for a long time, far beyond Fan Xian's imagination. This secret is related to the legendary temple. Xian was not well known in Northern Qi. Although he was the leader of the cavalry, He was a young and famous literary figure. Zhou Minghan, Xian's brother, wanted to make a name for himself. He heard that there is a godly temple located in the far north. He sent Xian and Qu He to lead a team of 1,000 men They marched to the north at that time. Qu He, although he was of royal blood, he had no interest in the battle for the throne. That's why he was included in the team that searched for the temple. The search for the temple was not as simple as they thought. It's not as simple as they thought. Hope led the procession northward, into the snowy north. The whole party was exhausted. Because of the snowy landscape, many were suffering from snow blindness. There was no vegetation and no prey. The men on the march either fled or died of disease. Gradually, half of the soldiers were lost. The horses that had replaced them on foot were eaten up. Those who remained, even the corpses of their companions, were used as food reserves. In the end, those who survived Xian and Qu He were the only ones left. The further north they went, the longer the night stayed, until the light of day was completely swallowed up. Only the night was cold and lonely. When Fan Xian heard it, he realized the Shani Bitter River should be in the far north. After experiencing the extreme night, the dawn finally appeared in the sky. It was then that the temple appeared. In the memory of the demise, he and Bitter River did not enter the temple. Every time they reached out their hands towards the gate of the temple, that majestic building miraculously appeared not far away again. No matter how hard they tried, they could never touch the temple. Then the door to the temple finally opened. The figure of a woman in white gradually became clear in the light of the demons. It was as if a god had descended into the world. Fan Xian has heard his name many times. It's his real mother, Yi Qingmei. In the last episode, we talked about Fan Xian as an envoy of the Qing Empire. He escorted Xiao Yusli to northern Qi so that he could use them to exchange for the captured Yin Bingyun. On the way, he encountered Tiger and Yin Xiao. He was intercepted by both sides and met the Holy Maiden of Northern Qi, the 9th grade master, Haidang Duo. Luckily, the journey turned out to be a good one. The group entered the border of Northern Qi without any problems. The person in charge of the reception was Xinzhong, the ambassador of the Jinyui. He's actually a ruthless and vicious man. No wonder Chen Pingming urged Fan Xian to watch out for this man. It seems that if we want to get Yin Bingyun back, won't be that easy. It's not just to give the delegation a hard time. It was to provoke the tiger. However, he was so angry that he attacked himself. It's a good way to accuse the tiger. He can be accused of disobeying orders and being domineering, so as to get rid of this big trouble. This time the two countries are at war. Qing has prospered. Fan Xian thought that the people would not welcome the Southern Qing delegation, but what he didn't expect was the people of Northern Qi were so generous. They welcomed them with cabbages and eggs. One can't help but marvel at the simplicity of the people of Northern Qi. Fan Xian was not angry. Instead, he was happy to buy a lot of food for free. He urged Wang to have more food tonight. But looking at Xinzhong's look of relief, he understood most of it. He spread the news that he killed an 8th grade master of Northern Qi in the street, so as to provoke the city's masters to show up and challenge him. I'm afraid Xinzhong arranged all this on purpose to make a mistake first. Fan Xian watched with cold eyes as Xinzhong pretended to apologize. While enjoying the show, he was shocked and amused. He's really good at this. As a minister of Southern Qing, he's come to Northern Qi. He's responsible for the image of the whole country. I'm afraid that Xinzhong might not want to be caught in the crossfire and hide in the car, so that he can lose integrity of the Qing nation. I'd rather attack. He asked Gauda to bring in a long strip of paper. Gentlemen, this is the battle flag of the 7th Battalion of the Qing Border Army. Now this flag is going to enter your palace. Fan Xian did this because of two things. One, he represents the honor of his country. He can only advance, not retreat. Instead of being forced to retreat by Xinzhong's plan, it's better to retreat than advance. The second is that there are many masters in the capital, but there are only a few who are good at wine. On the way to Northern Qi, he's fought with each of these masters. He's already lost his true Qi. I think it should not be difficult to deal with non-9th grade masters. Gue Xian was right in his prediction. He stood on the roof of the car. He's hired you to do a great job. Any dancer who dared to challenge him, he knocked them all off their feet. Your Honor, be careful. Wang Qingyin recognized the person in front of him at once. This is Yi Daren, one of the 9th grade masters of the North Qi. The 8th grader Fan Xian killed a while ago. He disciple. He's here to seek revenge. Yi Daoran is really good with his sword. His sword play is so elegant, but it's also deadly. Fan is hurt from fighting against the masters. When Fan Xian fought with him, Fan Xian was a bit overwhelmed. It's said that he cultivates hegemonic power, and it's extremely explosive, but still not as strong as a 9th grade master's. That's why, even in the middle of a dangerous fight, he had to stand on the roof of the car to see the opponent's stance in order to have a chance to win. If it's just about the strength of his power, He can fight with a 9th grade master, but after a long fight, his power is damaged. If Yidaran were to take another risk, he'd have no chance of survival. But even though Xinzhong hates risk, even if he had arranged a big show to make him look good, but he wouldn't dare to let the Southern Qing envoy get into trouble to make any mistakes in Northern Qi. So before Yidaran could use his sword again, he hurriedly stopped him. I'm so scared. No one's going to hit me again, right? Big brother Chen Pinmin thinks that once the paper ball wakes up, should have reached the North Pole. So he dispatched his troops to the North Pole. He succeeded in causing panic at the North Pole. Then he purposely kept the army still. Northern Qi has just talked about a national war. It was hard to reach peace with Qing. After the settlement of the war, this superior himself and millions of people. Therefore, Fan Xian's high-profile behavior. The civil and military officials dared not say anything more. Under the guidance of Xinzhong, Fan Xian, as an envoy of Nanqing, he entered the palace to see the emperor of Northern Qi, although he hasn't really cleaned up his administration yet. But his gestures and movements show the style of an emperor. But he never expected the first thing the young emperor said to him. He was a bit puzzled. How many chapters are there in your new book? Not to mention the important officials. Even he was shocked to find out. Who would have thought that the queen of a country would personally come down to rush the book? At this time, Lian Hozmin gave a cry of alarm. Dowager of Northern Qi. And as he suspected, Duo Tong is indeed with the Empress Dowager. There's no doubt that the Empress Dowager is in charge. The little emperor and the Empress Dowager are mother and son in name. But in reality, they have different minds. There's a hidden wind between their words. Where Dowdo offered to chat with Fan Xian about poetry, the Empress Dowager won't let her go. Huang and I and the Empress Dowager are mother and daughter in name only. But in reality, they have different minds. Their words make their relationship even more insidious. Dowdo offered to talk poetry with Fan Xian. The Empress Dowager is still not at ease. She asked Begonia Dowdo to follow her, so she could listen in on their conversation, away from the eyes of others. Little Huang Ni's attitude towards Fan Xian has become more and more cordial. He confessed that he was a good poet. She admires his talent. In fact, she is loyal to the emperor. As for his repeated actions against Xian, he was just following his teacher's order. It's not directly related to the party struggle. The reason why War Dowda told the truth in front of Fan Xian to tell him everything, wasn't just because she admired his writing skills. The situation in Northern Qi is complicated. The dispute over the queen is a hotly contested issue. Xinzhong's party has deep roots. It's the most powerful party in the country. The Empress Dowager is even more loyal to her. If we can't take him under our wing, the emperor will never keep him alive. However, the staff he has deployed, the Empress Dowager knows them all. Duo Tong can't take action against Xinzhong because of his position. So what the young emperor needs right now? A steel knife to stab Xinzhong in an impartial way. He needs to remain calm, but he also needs to have a good chance of winning. Fan Xian is the perfect candidate. Anyway, he mentioned a hiding before. He's ready to intervene in the Northern Qi dynasty. Instead of taking the Empress Dowager's side, I'd rather help the young emperor take over the dog. Besides, he's not from Northern Qi. If Xinzhong died by his hand, no one will suspect the young emperor, and then they'll behead me in public. His Majesty has won the hearts of the people. He sold his ministers to their deaths. It's a true story of mutual help. It's a great story. Fan Xian has always been a man of great understanding. He's heard a little about the fighting, but he knows what he's talking about. For this proposal, Fan Xian is an envoy of the Qing Empire. He has come to Northern Qi besides escorting Xiaoan and Sri Sri. Replacing Yin Binyun is also a top priority, and the person he most wants to see. He's being tortured in the Jinwei prison. The two countries have just called a truce. Even if Xinzhou is bold, Xinzhou wouldn't dare to keep Yin Binyun in custody, lest the two sides start fighting again. But before returning him to the mission, I will do my best to find out the names of the spies Yin Binyun knows. So if Fan Xian wants to use Yin Binyun, I'm afraid it's not as easy as I thought. When the words came out of his mouth, the emperor stopped speaking. Instead, he plotted as if he were in the dark. He asked Haiyang to escort Fan Xian out of the palace. And you drugged me. If you don't mind, you can drug me too. It's not a bad idea. Then you must hurry. I'll go back to Qing after I receive Yin Binyun. In fact, Fan Xian was only skeptical of the emperor's words. Fan Xian was only skeptical. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. It's come to take advantage of the unstable situation in Northern Qi. But he was a bit wary of the young emperor's open invitation. He still has some scruples. Besides, even if Jinwei refuses to let the paper ball stay in a foreign country, the capital city for a long time, it will definitely attract Qing's attention. The Empress Dowager won't agree either. Plus, what excuse does Xinzhou have to keep him in the capital? The Empress Dowager is about to be honored. I think it's a good idea for you to stay a few more days to celebrate her birthday. Fan Xian's blind confidence has caused him to take a nasty fall. Xinzhong really is a good strategist. He kept the envoys at bay with the birthday celebration. It also kept the man he was holding, Yin Bingyun. He acted like he was winning, but he didn't expect Xinzhong to get in the way. But he never expected Qing's side would actually agree to keep the delegation in northern Qi. He was so worried I met with Emperor Qing for this reason. On the other side, Beiqi's territory is always trying to prevent Fan from meeting with Yin Bingyun. On the other hand, they secretly encourage the Beiqi martial artists to challenge the invoice post. This little trick in the pillow Fan Xian could see right through it. It's just a wheel of war between the two worlds to slow him down, so that Yin Bingyun's whereabouts won't be exposed early. Luckily, he's accompanied by Guode who's very skilled. Fan Xian doesn't have to fight himself. At this point in time, the most troublesome part is finding Yin Bingyun's whereabouts. The situation is cloudy. They'll do whatever they can to find out. They'll try to find out the list of people in the capital, since Fan Xian and Wang Qinian can't show up. In the last episode, we talked about at this point in time, the most troublesome thing is to find Yin Bingyun's whereabouts. The situation is cloudy. Before Fan Xian can find him, they'll get the list of spies in the capital by any means necessary. Since Fan Xian and Wang Qinian can't show their faces, I'll have to leave it to someone else. It was the man he rescued from Yin Xiaoyu, Wu Baokuan, whom he rescued from Yin Xiaoyu and brought all the way to the capital. They've already made a deal. Wu Baokuan is working for Fan Xian. When he returns to Kyoto, he'll ask his father, Wu Yoji, to forgive him. What Fan Xian asked Wu Baokuan to do was simple. All he had to do was talk to people on the streets. Find out the exact location of the Jinyui boss. When the person walked out of the inn in confusion, the Jinyui received a tip-off. The entire capital is under the control of the Jin Yi Wei. Ordinary people don't dare to say anything, for fear of being caught in the crossfire. At this very moment, a man appeared in front of him. He generously pointed out where the Jinyui prison was located. The man who showed him the way was Xinzhong. In fact, when Guo Baokuan entered the city, he had already sent someone to spy on Fan Xinyu. When Wang Qinian found Guo Baokuan, he also received the information. That's why he intentionally leaked the information to Guo Baokuan, but he knew in his heart, the supervisory committee would never send someone like this as a scout. Xinzhong led his troops to Guo Baokuan's inn, but found it empty. Fan Xing and Wang Yin have disappeared. Xinzhong stopped his lieutenant from conducting a full-scale search. Instead, he locked his eyes to a handful of dust on the couch. He immediately decided that Fan Xian and Wang Qinian had taken the opportunity to escape from the roof. So he gave the order, tell them to search the center of the inn, but don't make too much noise. The Jinyui had just left. Fan Xian and Wang Qinian got out from under the bed. Luckily, they anticipated the predictions from Xinzhong. They didn't start from under the bed, and it's just a small detail. In fact, Fan Xian never put his hopes on Guo Baokuan. Guo Baokuan, who has no heart at all, suddenly jumped out of the caravan into the crowd. The person Fan Xian is talking about. He's the man he fought with a few days ago, Taoist. Although he is under the Empress Dowager, but he was entrusted by Chen Pingping. He promised to kill Fan Xian in the capital, but he also made it clear he would not take action himself, nor would he expose his whereabouts for Fan Xian. At most, he would deliver a secret message. Other than that, Taoist also said, before he returned to Kyoto, he was asked to check the books of the Inari treasure count in town. It's also convenient to take over the panty shop. Xinzhong is personally guarding the panty cutter. Very few people know his whereabouts. Taoist is not one of them. The only information I could provide to Aizen, I can only find out where Yan Bingyun used to live. Maybe we can find some clues. However, when he pushed open the door, he hasn't heard of any further movement. Instead, Xinzhong realized Fan Xian's skill could be a matter. He thinks he should find a trusted martial artist in the capital. That's the only way to be sure. There aren't many 9th grade masters in Northern Qi. Those who can be deployed to attack the trial are even more rare. Haitang is always by the Empress Dowager's side. The tiger hates him to the bone. The only one who is most suitable is Taoist. Xinzhong's decision is part of Fan Xian's plan. Otherwise, he wouldn't have said those words in front of the mansion. With Taoist River as his mole, what Fan Xian needs to do next is to find clues in the traces left by Yin Bingyun before he disappeared. How could Fan Xian not realize that after Yin Bingyun's identity was exposed, the Jinyuri would have searched her house at once naturally? They won't leave any loose ends. This old house is useless. But Yin Bingyun was famous for a while. Many people knew him. When the Imperial assassins came to arrest him, the residents of Jiangling and the people watching, there must have been a lot of them. Even if Xinzhou is very powerful, he couldn't kill so many people just to cover it up. So these days we found outsiders pretending to be looking for relatives in Beiqi, drinking tea in the neighborhood for several days. they've been trying to get information out of the people. When he learned that Yin Bingyun had fallen into Shun Zhong's hands, a girl actually got the news in advance. She rushed here to let Yin Bingyun escape, but they were so patient with the girl. It's impossible for a woman to do something like this. And Xin Zhong has a sister at home. It's said that the brother and sister are very close to each other. If we want to find Yin Bingyun, this woman is the only way to break through. According to Fan Xian's instructions, he suggested to Shun Zhong to remove the other followers. He'll do the surveillance himself. When Shun Zhong heard that Qing Yu Nian was with Fan Xian, was a top male tracking master, he didn't revolt. That way, they can execute their plan much more smoothly. Qing Yu Nian is an excellent tracker. He followed Miss Shun's carriage. He chased her all the way to the south of the city, only because of the defense force. By sending the eyes, we can be sure there's something important hidden in this area. Maybe it's the Yin Bingyun they're looking for. There's not much time left to be a criminal. Furukawa's eldest disciple, Mr. Lang, that's Haitang Duo's senior brother. He's received a secret message from Shun Zhong when he arrives at the capital. It won't be Taoist who will be watching over the criminals. He has no choice but to take the risk to deliver a message to Miss Shun's bodyguard. It just so happens that this time, Fan Xian was right. Miss Shin does have feelings for Yin Bingyun, although she doesn't know the identity of the intruder. But for Yin Bingyun's comfort, she stopped the carriage at the place Fan Xian had agreed upon. Fan Xian got into the carriage when no one was looking. He briefly and succinctly explained his true purpose: it's to rescue Yin Bingyun. The two countries have made a deal. Sooner or later, Yin Bingyun will go back to Qing. Since it's the same as sooner or later, why should I help you now? Before he leaves, the quarantine guards will definitely increase the penalty. Can you really bear to see Yin Bingyun become an invalid? Miss Shun finally agreed when the carriage reaches its destination. Fan Xian held her hostage. He managed to see the bruised Yin Bingyun. At the same time, Dangren came to see Shun Zhong. He claimed that when he was following Fan Xian, he was stopped by a masked master. They fought and lost him. He emphasized that he was also a 9th grade. His moves were tough. The momentum is magnificent of all the 9th grade fighters in the capital. Only the Tiger and the Taoist have powerful moves. This is to lead Shun Zhong to believe that Fan Xian and Shang Shan who were in cahoots with each other. Fan Xian's kidnapping of the Shun family's young lady, it soon reached Shun Zhong's ears. He was eager to go to the scene and take charge. He offered to go with him. He refused. The guards arrived just in time. Shun Zhong felt sorry for his sister. He didn't want to scold her, but he refused to let Fan Xian take Yin Bingyun. He even tried to kill Fan Xian on the spot. No one knew he was here anyway. Even Miss Shun, who was with him, became nervous. But Risk looked as if nothing had happened. He didn't change his face even though he was attacked with a sword or an axe, because he had already asked Qing Yu Nian to go and get help. Now it's since even the Empress Dowager has given the word, she wants the Jinui to exchange Yin Bingyun. Xin Zhong had no choice but to comply. A crisis has been resolved. Fan County was relieved, but Yin Bingyun's paranoia, it was a bit of a headache for him. The internal treasury and financial power are all in a tricky position. The procuratorate has high hopes. The Crown Prince and the Second Prince are competing for him. Even the Holy Maiden of the Northern Qi dynasty favors him. It's inevitable that Yin Bingyun has doubts. But no matter what, with his own intelligence and Miss Shin's love, Yin Bingyun was finally rescued. He's gone this far. What could this little Yin not believe? Qing Yu Nian saw that Yin Bingyun wouldn't budge. He volunteered to help Fan Xian clarify. But the words he used in his explanation, they were a bit out of line. After returning to the post, Gauda was still enjoying himself to deal with the fighters who challenged him. In front of Yin Bingyun, who was full of nonsense, Fan Xian didn't bother to prove his innocence. He sent him back to his house to recover. Fan Xian and Yin Bingyun were able to avoid this disaster. If he hadn't ordered Haitang to come and rescue them, Fan Xian is planning to take action against Shun Zhong. As for this suspicious man, Mr. Yin, who doesn't take his life seriously, he could only let nature take its course. While Yin Bingyun was on his way to Fuyang, Fan Xian told him everything he had experienced since entering the capital. He told him everything. When it came to Fan Xian instructing He Daoren to deceive Shun Zhong, Yin Bingyun became suddenly serious because He Daoren deceived Shun Zhong. The reason he told Fan Xian had pushed He Daoren to Shun Zhong's suspicion. He's afraid Shun Zhong won't believe it easily. It was the tiger who stopped the Taoist people that day, because after entering the city, Fan's every move was under the control of the Imperial assassins. It's certain he never had the chance to communicate with Tiger. He's a dead man walking. That's why Shun Zhong, who has always been suspicious, got suspicious of Taoist. That's why he invited Lang Qiu. Two masters of wine will fight against each other. He was sure of victory. Yin Mingyun was right, but Shunzheng didn't realize. Fan Xian, whom he despised the most. He was good at thinking what others couldn't. He wants to do what others can't. The tiger's men asked when we could strike. Tell him. I'll give him an answer in 2 or 3 days. In the last video, we talked about Shang Shan, who originally decided to join forces with Fan Xian. To rescue Shan from Shenzhou, Yin Bin Yuan realized that in the thousands of storebooks, there was a huge amount of smuggling money for years. It was only smuggled to Qing by the genie Wei. Fan wants to find out who the smuggler is. With the help of a dangerous informant, Shunzhong got the news of the rescue in advance. Not only did he send his men to take away Tiger and the others, he also asked Wolf Escape and River Rotor to save their lives. They are secretly hiding on the way back to the capital. Once Little King escapes, they will kill him immediately. Shan's bloodline was cut off by Wolf's knife. He died with Fan Xian by his side. Upper Mountain Tiger reprimanded his lieutenant and many of his guards. He hated Fan Xian even more. But speaking of Shunzhong, although he was ruthless for his only sister, he loves her from the bottom of his heart. Whenever he saw his sister secretly visiting Yin Bin Yun, he was angry and distressed. He even went to the legation's post house to seek justice for his sister. But even so, when Fan Xian mentioned the identity of the smuggler from the Jinyue, he remained absolutely rational. As he looked at Shenzhong's back, Fan Xian didn't see any disappointment on his face. Of course, he knows a man like Shunzhong wouldn't easily reveal the name of a smuggler, but if there's a way to bring him to his doom, there might be a ray of hope. Shenzhong is a sister commander. He's been mediating with many forces for years. To defeat such a difficult opponent, the only way that Fan Xian can think of is to join forces with the tiger to work together again. Last time he had no choice. He disclosed Shunzhong's plan to rescue Xiao Ong, which indirectly led to the deaths of his lieutenant Tan Wu, as well as the deaths of all the dead guards. Meanwhile, Shunzhong's Jinwei were closely monitoring Fan Xian's every move. Fan went straight to a veterinarian store. He spent half a day at the veterinarian store. After buying a coffin, he headed for the tiger on the hill. Fan Xian had leaked secrets to Shenzhong. He's become a thorn in the side of the tiger. He couldn't wait to kill him. No one expected it. He'd come alone without a guard. Shenzhong was still puzzled. Fan Xian has already entered the general's residence. He said he bought a coffin. A scholar has come to pay his respects. He's speaking frankly as if he hadn't betrayed the tiger. Although Tiger is a hothead, he's not stupid. Of course he knows the culprit who killed Greedy Dancer, and the others it should have been on Shenzhong. But Fan Xian, the traitor, was also to blame. His heart was filled with grief and anger. He couldn't even listen to his opponent's explanation. When the tiger was shocked and realized, he began to tearfully recount his story. He secretly followed Shan, who had changed his clothes. Then he witnessed the river people and the wolves escaping to intercept and kill them, and how he saved Shan's life and stayed by his side until he grew tired of it. The general kept it all to himself. So before he died, he told about Temple's secret. He wished him a good life and hoped that he can live on. But in order to carry out his next plan, he had to use it to stir up the tiger's hatred for Shenzhong. Fan Xian's move was clever in that on one hand, it intensified the conflict between the two. On the other hand, he reminded Shang Shanhu, now that he's stuck in the capital, he has almost no real power in his hands. How can he compete with the powerful Shenzhong if he wants to avenge Shan and his corruption? The only way for Tiger to avenge Xiaoyin and the corruption was to use the power of the criminal. After convincing Shang Shanhu, Fan Xian took him to see the Empress Dowager. He'd seen it all before. Fan Xian's flattery didn't make him happy. Instead, he was intrigued by the birthday gift he said he'd searched so hard for. He was very interested. To persuade the tiger to surrender to the city, the Empress Dowager accepted Fan Xian's request. This unruly and solitary general of Northern Qi, although he has won many battles over the years, he never cared to take sides in the court. The Empress Dowager and the little emperor were afraid of him. They took away his military power and transferred him back to the capital. Now Upper Mountain Tiger is willing to surrender. For the Empress Dowager, the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. In order to win the trust of the other side, Tiger even handed over his hard work in the army. In this way, he handed over his foundation and weaknesses. At first, the Empress Dowager was skeptical about the sudden submission of the tiger. She had her doubts. Now that she has the list and having the military power at the border, as to why Tiger chose to work for her, it's not hard to guess the reason. It's because he brought troops to rescue his father. but Shenzhong set him up to kill Xian and Tam. Some of the details, Shenzhong didn't seem to tell the Empress Dowager, but deliberately concealed some of the facts, since he accepted the punishment of the tiger's head. Of course, the Empress Dowager will not ignore his appeal, so she urgently summoned Taoist Master Wu to the palace to find out what happened that day. On the other hand, Shenzhong got the news. He was afraid that things would change. He rushed over. He happened to enter the palace with He Daoren. In fact, before that, the Empress Dowager had instructed Shenzhong to leave Xian alive for the time being. But for Shenzhong's unauthorized decision, she didn't say anything to criticize him. She only scolded him a few times. As Shenzhong, the two of them made up with the tiger. If it were the former tiger, before avenging his father's death, he could tolerate anything else. Shenzhong was one of the officials of the same court, but this time with Fanxian's persuasion. He held back his anger. In addition to the tiger, Fanxian also brought a gift. It's an account book of Underpants store in Merchant City. He secretly investigated the identity of the smuggler, but he couldn't figure it out at all. So he opened up in front of the Empress Dowager. He said that this unseemly business can be done in the open. It's just that the person in charge of this matter was changed to himself. But what he didn't expect was such an important matter as smuggling between the two countries. The Empress Dowager knew nothing about it. Shenzhong seemed to have anticipated this move, so he explained that over the years, the imperial assassins have not profited from it. He just pushed the boat out. He's letting the smuggling money flow into Qing. Once Southern Qing is in turmoil, Qi Nation will have a chance to take advantage of the situation. Shenzhong's words seem to have convinced the Empress Dowager, but it doesn't matter to Fanxian. The profits from smuggling between the two countries are huge. Almost everyone in Northern Qi has something to gain. Even the Empress Dowager won't be tempted. From the Northern Qi's point of view, Shenzhong's words are clear. If the deal goes through, that's all that matters. If the Southern Qing dynasty is in turmoil as a result, North and West will have the upper hand. So she rejected Fanxian's request. He's not worried about it. When confronted by Shenzhong, who questioned his doubts, he's even more calm and relaxed. As for Shenzhong, he's brilliant but arrogant. It's not that you can't see the Empress Dowager deliberately forgave Shenzhong in front of him. She took it upon herself to put on a show of harmony between ruler and subject. The more he pretends to be forgiving, the more angry he'll be at Shenzhong's autocratic death. Once the seed of suspicion is planted, it's only a matter of time before it explodes. The Empress Dowager was already jealous of Shenzhong's defiance. She was afraid of him. She's been obedient to him before. It's only because the Queen Dowager's most powerful men, he and his Jinyui, are the only ones who can help her. Now that the tiger has surrendered, military power is at her fingertips. Naturally, she won't be like before. The headstrong and self-opinionated Jinyui commander in the letter, even if he doesn't move on the surface. In his heart, he must have become disgusted. But this alone is not enough to defeat Shenzhong. The Empress Dowager is still unhappy with Shenzhong, for the sake of the power he holds and the work he does for her. She won't dismiss him so easily, but as long as the other party is firmly against smuggling, even if the Empress Dowager and the Little Emperor don't take action, there are many people who want him to die without a burial place. After Haitang brought the list back to the palace and Fanxian's words in his analysis, she told the Little Emperor every word. Yin Mingyun to take over his country's spy network. But Yin Mingyun hasn't been in Beijing for long. How many Nanjing spies are hiding in Beishi? Only civilian Chun knows best. Normally, if he wants to use the spy network, he can only use one of the upper limits to mediate. Fanxian took a lot of time. He finally got Yin Bianyuan to let go. He found the southbound agent disguised as an escort while identifying himself. He gave two instructions. One was to ask the other party to gather his spies to publicize his conversation with Shenzhong in the palace. Make sure everyone knows about it. He'll work with you. Replace the spies in the capital with your own men. That's Fanxian's second order. Guo Baokuan is in charge of taking over the capital's network. Although he's not very bright, he's not stupid after all. He hides in the darkness, walking on the tip of a knife. He's not very good at it for a playboy, but as a shield for Shenzhong, he's still more or less capable of doing it. But then again, when the smuggling ceremony between the two countries is finalized, Guo Baokuan can at best do some landings and bribes. As for the real candidate to take charge of the Northern Qi Emperor, I'll make other arrangements. According to Fanxian's orders, Shenzhong tried to stop the deal between the two countries. The news spread quickly through the streets and alleys. People in the towns and counties were talking about it after dinner. Even people in the Jinyui's office began to talk about it. Shenzhong thought that with the power of the Jinyui to stop the spread of the news shouldn't be too difficult. But he overlooked one thing. It's human nature to seek profit, even the jinuri that he taught himself. There are few who are as clean as he is. They treat money like dirt, who doesn't have their heads up their asses to make a living. They risk their lives to earn money to support their families. Now I've got a chance to make a fortune, but they're being blocked by others. Don't you know that cutting off people's money is like killing their parents? Sooner or later, he'll be abandoned by the people. In the early days, he was highly respected by the Empress Dowager. But even though it's not the same as in the past, the Empress Dowager had a tiger on her side. Xinzhong is no longer the most powerful official at his side. Naturally, he doesn't love him as much as he used to even for this birthday ceremony. The Empress Dowager specially bypassed Xinzhong. She gave it to his comrades. It's obvious she intends to take away his power. Tiger is now the Empress Dowager's favorite. Xinzhong is no longer as powerful as he once was. For both the Empress Dowager and the Emperor, it'll do more good than harm. But what Xinzhong did was out of loyalty. He doesn't have a personal agenda. What's loyalty got to do with it? How many loyal officials have died over the ages? In the last episode, the Grandmaster Xian is almost dead under two Nineth Graders' attack. Before Xian's dead, he revealed all the secrets to Fan Xian. When he first saw Yi Qingmei, Fan's real mother, he was shocked beyond words. Because of her, Ku He became a great master. At that time, Yi Qingmei gave Ku He a secret book. They studied it together. But Xian realized that no matter how he practiced, he couldn't improve as fast as Ku He, so he had to give up. Later, King Xiao and Ku He escorted Yi Qingmei along the way. They got along very well with each other. When they reached the northern jail pass, Yi Qingmei separated from them. For Yi Qingmei's words, Ku He would do whatever she was told. The three of them parted ways. The reason why everything about the temple became a secret, it was also Yi Qingmei's idea. He said that although the temple gathered the faith of the world, but in reality, it changes with people's perception. In their words, the temple is like a seal. Underneath is something that can't be seen. It could throw the whole world into chaos. Over the years, Xian has never broken his promise, but now he's determined to tell this secret to himself. The only bloodline he's ever known. That is to say, he's taking a risk. It's because he always felt Qin Pingping was too obsessed with the temple. And knowing this secret, even if we can't control Qin and the public prosecutor's office, I can at least save my life. After the news of Xian's Silicon Valley reached northern Qi, Ku He sent Haidang and Wolf to escape. He hated him and couldn't kill him, probably because he's afraid he'll leak the secret. As for Yi Qingmei's whereabouts, Xian also knows a little bit. Heard that he traveled around. He even has an entourage with him. Wu Zhu. He also built the Sigujian in Dongyi City. Then he moved to Nanqing. Not only did he have a relationship with Grandmaster Liu Yun, he also set up his own trading company. Now Fan Xian really understands why his grandmother stopped him from going back to Kyoto. Because of his mother's death. Why he's raised in Danzhou for many years without caring about him. But then suddenly, she asked him to go back to Kyoto, so he could marry the princess and take over the panties. And why did Qin Pingping favor him so much? He's even planning to entrust the supervisory yuan to him. And Emperor Qing's attitude towards him from the beginning to the end. Everything makes sense now. He's not the son of the Fan family. He's a true member of the royal family of the Kingdom of Qing. But looking at Xian in front of him with comforting eyes, Fan Xian still silently swallowed the truth. He chose to bury the truth. At the last moment of the other person's existence, he can spend it with his only bloodline, even if it's just a well-intentioned lie. No matter what. For this old man who had been through a lot in his life, Fan Xian is still grateful. If not for Xian, he would have never known his own life. On the other side, the Shadow delivered the Northern Qi War report as usual. Chen Minmin read it. As usual, she advised him not to disclose the report to Fei Jia. When Shadow was about to leave, he bumped into Fei Jia, but he didn't expect the other party to be the first to throw the poison powder. He's curious about Shadow's true identity, but instead, he was in a hurry to take the war report. He found Chen Pinpin in person. In the face of Fei Jia's angry questioning, Chen Pinpin appeared to be calm and relaxed, because he knew better than anyone else. The Lung Ring's attainment in the use of poison is extremely high. He personally prepared the poison. Even if the other party is a great master, there's no way he won't fall victim to it. Only in the area of perception of the world is difficult, but not as much as the other organizers. He was able to get this report. There must be someone behind it. To let Xian can guess the answer himself, Chen Pingping deliberately did not prepare any concrete evidence of Fan Xian's life, such as the jade pendant and birthmark. Only the more contradictions he created. Xian would be convinced of Fan's identity. It's the battlefield of hearts and minds that's the most thrilling. It's the most thrilling. Emperor Qing and Xian Pingping both know this. Xian is a smart man, and a smart man's greatest weakness is to be too self-righteous. Xian always thinks the reason why Qin Pingping took great pains to torture him in such a big way is because in their battle at the North Pole, he ruined both of Qin Pingping's legs. He would use his grandson as a bargaining chip to threaten him to reveal the secret, but the truth is Qin Pingping doesn't have the slightest hatred for Xian. After all, although his legs were ruined, but he also killed Xian's son and daughter-in-law. It was a fair exchange. Such ingenuity, such tactics, even a veteran like Fan Jian can't help but feel a chill when hearing it. That's Yi Qingmei's son. It's not that Qin Mingming doesn't understand his feelings for Yi Qingmei are no less than anyone else's, but he wanted to get the secret about the temple from Xian. He wants to find out the temple's secret from Xian. Fan Xian is the most important piece in this game. To convince Xian that Fan Xian is the heir of the Shao family, he will tell Fan Xian everything about the temple, even for the sake of the temple. Is it worth risking Fan Xian's life? After Fan Jian left, Emperor Qing looked a bit displeased, but for his loving attitude towards Fan Xian, Emperor Qing still has some sympathy for him. What His Majesty has done is for the sake of Qing. It's worth it. When Qin Pingping left the palace, Emperor Qing specially instructed the commander of the Forbidden Army, Gong Dian, to keep a close watch on Qin Pingping. So Gong Dian he followed Qin Mingming without a sound. He saw him talking to Fan Jian. When Fan Jian suppressed his anger, asked which is more important, Fan Xian or Qinghua, Qin Mingming seemed to be deliberately avoiding the question. Instead, he emphasized over and over again what kind of secrets and resources is very important to Qing. That's why you choose Qing. I'll choose Fan Xian, not my son. Speaking of which, Fan Jian suddenly thought during Mrs. Fang's conversation, Qin Pingping has been consciously or unconsciously avoiding one important thing. That is where Xian's real grandson has gone. What is his current status? In the face of Fan Jian's doubts, Qin Pingping appeared to be calm and relaxed. Knowing that a smart person lies to be convincing must be one part true and one part false, not to mention the false part. It's Fan Xian's real life. As for the rest of the truth, Qin Pingping did keep his promise. He raised Xian's real grandson and turned him into a loyal soldier, a warrior with no regard for life or death. Is he in the prosecutor's office? Yes. When Guo Dian returned, he told the emperor what she had heard. But when he was about to turn around and leave, Emperor Qing suddenly opened his mouth. Did Dr. Chen really said that? I've memorized every word. I don't dare to lie about it. Fan didn't know what happened in the palace. The first thing he did when he returned to the capital, he went to see Guo Baokuan at the inn. I thought you'd forgotten me. Although Guo Baokuan's words were a bit spiteful, Fan Xian didn't care about that right now. He's received too much information in one day. He's still in shock. There are still some things he had to find out right away. Fan Xian first mentioned the man who suffered retaliation for his loyalty to the Führer. He almost had his entire family slaughtered. Tang Zijing was sacrificed. He remembered that Guo Baokuan never admitted treating Tang Zijing as a wanted criminal. He even went after his family. Guo Baokuan is a playboy, but that was a small dispute. Why would he care about the affairs of such a small matter? Speaking of which, the answer is clear. No wonder the assassins in charge of the public prosecutor's office are the 6th Division. The fake order to kill the criminal then went to Division 4. I'm afraid that Tang Zijing was assigned to carry out the assassination. Before arranging for Tang Zijing to carry out the assassination mission and Li Yunesio's assassination order, he was just the sacrifice goat. Qin Mingming chose Tang Zijing because he has a chivalrous heart. He had the courage to confront his superiors for profit and justice. Fan Xian felt a chill in his heart, and Tang Zijing, who had never surrendered to darkness, became pawns in someone else's game. The only difference was he still has the so-called value of use. Tang Zijing and countless innocent people's lives were buried in the hands of those powerful people. In a game of desire and greed, Fan Xian returned to the post house. After seeing Yin Bingyun, he thought of what Xian said, in the hands of Qin Mingming. He didn't know whether he was alive or dead, because he clearly remembers this little Mr. Yin is clearly the same age as himself. If Xian's grandson is Yin Bingyun, then all the mixed up thoughts in his head can finally be straightened out. Fujiko is the one who went out today. When he was in trouble, the person who was sent to Northern Qi to spy and lead the spies will undoubtedly be Yin Bingyun. In that case, it's only a matter of time before Yin Bingyun is captured by Xinzhong and Fan Xian, who has long been part of the plan, is destined to go to Northern Qi and hope to bring him back. It's funny that he's always claimed to be smart, but he's never been able to break free from the control of Qin Pingping and his own father. He's been led by the nose every step of the way. This is fair, an equitable fan has calmed down completely. He has made up his mind. The Crown Prince and the Second Prince are fighting for the throne. No matter who loses in the end, I'm afraid there's no way out. If you think about it, being a prince fighting for the throne, it's better to become the most powerful official in Qing dynasty. If that's the case, his next step will be clearer. Zhuge's collusion with the princess has failed. He cut off one of his hosts. So far, it's only for public elections. Fan Xian has decided. When he finds out the truth about the smuggling and returns to Kyoto, he will use all his power to support Yin Yun to become an organizer of Division 1. Mr. Yin has always followed Chen Pingping's words. He's always followed them to the letter. He's never done anything, but he is dedicated to the kingdom of Qing. Fan Xian only needed to explain to Yin Pingyun the pros and cons of Chen Pingping's monopoly to Yin Pingyun. It shouldn't be difficult to gain his support, but Fan Xian knows how to prioritize things. There are things he can't say to Yin Pingyun. In front of Wang Qinian, he can get it off his chest. Although Wang Jingyan loves money, but he knows the situation. He doesn't understand. Why would he want to offend the two most important people in Northern Qi? What's in it for him? Wang Jingyan's confusion. Fan Xian has never thought about it. Once he entered Kyoto with great ambition, to find out the story of his mother, Yi Qingmei. He was careful with every step. Because he had no other desire, then he met Fujiko Kyo. Fan Xian regarded him as a confidant. After Tung Zijing's death in the Oxley Street assassination, he lived to avenge his friend's death. Until he did, he drove Li Yunrui out of Kyoto, but then he came to Northern Qi. King Kaizong found out about his real life. He was not the bastard son of the Fan family. He is a true royal bloodline. His mother's death was linked to Emperor Qing. If once Fan Xian only wanted to live a good life. Now, he's finally found the meaning of his life. I want to be the master of the Palace of Supervision. The helpers that Fan Xian mentioned. Naturally, it's not just Wang Qinian, Li Xiang, and the Guo family. There's also Mr. Yin. But as Wang Qinian said, if you want to take Yin Yun under your command, can't be done with just a few words. For the past days, Fan Xian has been working hard to maintain his character of being a lover. He's been chatting with Haiteng duo all the time. They have similar temperaments and interests. They really got along well. Speaking of this Haiteng, she was the opposite of the image of a young girl in the world's imagination. When she was in the palace, she could still look dignified. As soon as she leaves the palace, she can carry a small bamboo basket and shop for groceries. She even bought a yard in the suburbs of the capital. It's like living in the countryside. Fan Xian was used to seeing the deceitfulness of people's hearts. Sometimes he's tired of dealing with the power of the devil. He can't help but feel overwhelmed. It's rare to have a moment of leisure and relaxation. To be a normal person. What he said just now, Haiteng duo may not believe it, but in front of her, he can't help but share his stories with her. That day, they drank a lot of wine. From the rising of the sun to the fading of the sunset. Fan Xian hadn't been so happy for a long time. When he was drinking and eating, he even memorized the story of Sister Qiao in the Dream of the Red Chamber. Sometimes he couldn't help but think, is human life really a cycle of karma? Why is it that those who do evil always get a good ending? But if you think about it, it doesn't make sense. The world changes in an instant. The good and the bad in people's hearts are just a matter of thought. Didn't he once try his best to give up his life for Tang Zijing? For Tang Zijing, to seek justice for all the people in the world. The faster he moves, the farther away he is from his original goal. Now, Fan Xian can bring others into the chessboard with a smile. But he can no longer say what he once said. Everyone is equal now. If you look at it this way, he's not even a good person. He's just like most people, walking in the dark in the fog. Half a mortal doesn't remember much after that. I only know that when he woke up drunk, the person who took care of him at his bedside was Sri Sri. She told him when the Empress Dowager's birthday was over, she would be ready to enter the palace. But before that, he couldn't help but want to see Fan Xian again. Even if it's just to say a few words, it would be the fulfillment of her wish. On the day of the Empress Dowager's birthday banquet, Taoist he arrived at the palace early, to remind Fan Xian to make sure the groom escapes to challenge him in court. Before the banquet began, Haiteng duo specially called Fan Xian aside. Fan Xian was angry. Although what Haiteng did wasn't quite right, but it won't affect the overall situation. Sri Sri has been at King Tap for a long time. For years, she's rarely had the chance to talk to her favorite person. She only considered it as one of Sri Sri's great regrets. The feast was soon to begin. Rancourt did what Blade said he would do. He personally challenged to take the risk. He originally thought that the domineering true Qi he practiced. He thought that his explosive power didn't have enough strength against an expert with a deep foundation like Wolf Tao. He shouldn't have much chance of winning. But Wolf Tao's provocative words, it's obvious that he wants to use him to fight. Fan Xian had no choice but to fight. It was at this time Haitang Duo suddenly spoke up. She said she wanted to fight with him instead of Wolf Tao. Fan Xian realized it right away she was trying to help him. The scene of their fight can be described as pleasing to the eyes. They were more like dancing instead of fighting. After the battle was over, the Empress Dowager brought up the issue of Qing Yu and Fan Xian to cooperate in trade. From what she said, this should be a done deal. If it were anyone else, the Empress has spoken. Even if they have a point, they'd have to swallow their words. But Shun Zhong was an exception. He knew that if he spoke out against it, would not only offend the courtiers in the hall and cause the Empress Dowager's displeasure, but he still stood up without hesitation. Shun Zhong's loyalty is no different here. It's no different from the secret room the Empress Dowager couldn't hide her displeasure. It's only natural for the tiger to come forward to talk about Shun. When mentioning his own little sister, Shun Zhong immediately changed his face. For so many years, he thought he was loyal in every way. He's never been selfish. Even at the risk of losing his rank, he's never regretted anything he's done. Only his sister was his only weakness. Shun Zhong had no shame in raising her. He never told his sister about any military secret, but with regard to what Tiger accused him of, he didn't know how to defend himself. He blamed himself for indulging his sister. That led to the current situation. Shang Chaohu made the first move. He put the blame on his head. In addition, the Empress Dowager and court officials are enough to make it difficult for him to turn over. The Empress Dowager did not take offense. She ordered him to go back to his home. But anyone with eyes could see, Shun Zhong's position as commander of the Qing Yu won't be able to hold the post for long. For example, Wave Tao and Begonia Duo, they've surrendered to the Empress Dowager. In fact, they're the young emperors. The Empress Dowager and the Little Emperor seem to be fighting like hell, but in fact, they're in the same boat. Whether it's against Shun Zhong or the tiger, it's all part of their mother and daughter's plan. Today, Shun Zhong has fallen from grace. The Little Emperor has done a lot of work behind the scenes. He secretly sent the order to marginalize Shun Zhong. As for the officials who were close to Shun Zhong, were either caught in the act, or they were deliberately transferred out of the capital by the emperor. As a result, Shun Zhong is now powerless. He'll never be able to turn his life around again. Now Fan Xian has returned to Yinbian Yun. They finalized the business deal with Northern Qi. It's time for the delegation to leave for home. Before leaving, Tiger came to the post house. Fan Xian met with Taoist He again, Dr. Gu Baokuan's show. It was Taoist He who took over the Northern Qi spy network. But how could Fan Xian have imagined what he could have imagined? The emperor would have thought of it as well. What do we gain by capturing a man like He Daoren? What's in it for us? Our enemies can sometimes do things for us. Look at the situation now. Shun Zhong has lost his future, and we don't have to fight for it. Why not? Borrowing a knife to kill someone. It's not as easy as the emperor's. As for He Daoren, Beiki could have used him as an undercover agent and send the news of their choice to Nanjing. On the other hand, Fan Xian found Haitang Duo. He wants to see Zhuang Muhe. According to Shan's last wish, he should pay a visit in person and inform him of his death. With the help of Duo, he avoided all the people in the house. When he lifted the wooden curtain, he saw a room full of books, and Zhuang Muhe, who was studying hard. Compared to the last time he saw him in the memorial hall, Zhuang Muhe seemed to have aged a lot the moment he saw Fan Xiao. He barely managed to find a glimmer of light. Fan Xiao had long heard that he was sick. But what he didn't expect was this highly acclaimed master of literature and exploration until late at night. He refused to rest because of his illness. He was actually commenting on the corpse of his junior. He praised him for his excellent writing skills. Early the next morning, Fan departed on time. They were ready to go back to Qing. For some unknown reason, Haitang Duo personally drove a carriage waiting on the dangerous road. Where did Mr. Zhuang go? He passed away yesterday. He asked me to give you these things. He gave you all of his own books. I hope you can live so happily too. Live a happy life, as the old saying goes. It's better to die in the evening than to die in the morning. He regretted that he didn't get to see Mr. Zhuang for the last time. But Fan think that Mr. Zhuang should have had a clear conscience before he died. The pot of wine that night, it was a toast to the man who fought so hard, and to the man who sips his wine, to those who have heard of the way and passed it on. Regardless of his deeds, his heart is like a dream. The world's hope for hearsay is in Fan Xian's hands. He's not sure if he can fulfill Mr. Zhuang's expectations, but this time, he can at least fulfill the words, implying that the way is here. Before Fan leaves, but Miss Shun rushed over in a panic. She claimed that Shen Zhong had gathered a group of dead guards. He wanted to kill them at the border between the two countries. Get them now. Get them fast. The assassins arrived at the border in no time. Shen Zhong didn't even care about Haiteng Duo's presence. He ordered them to kill them all. The delegation is in danger. They were trapped by the corpses, and Shen Zhong hit Yin Bingyun very hard. Every move was aimed at his old wounds. Ms. Luffy and the Shin family tried their best to block the way. She took a sword from Shen Zhong. Yin Bingyun's life is in danger. At this moment, the situation has changed. Fan Xian has broken through the encirclement. They fought with Shen Zhong. The palace troops are coming over quickly. Shen Zhong saw that his power was gone. Surprisingly, he didn't resist. He simply threw away his weapon. The creature was smuggling a huge amount. I've actually been paying attention, but the money has been transferred to the Ming family, the largest family in Southern Qing. The masters of the Ming family are the second prince and Li Yunrui. Yes, that's right. Li Yunrui has always been the crown prince. You've been tricked. Shen Zhong has been holding out this secret for so long. Suddenly he's willing to reveal this secret. This is because he knew he'd be killed soon. That's why he arranged this show on purpose. If we can take this opportunity to kill all the ambassadors, the trade between the two countries will be cancelled. But if the plan fails, Shen Zhong's arrow to his sister He'll be cleared of all suspicion. He only hoped Fan Xian would remember his sister's help. He'd bring her back to Nanqing and take care of her. After Shen Zhong was brought back to the capital, what happened then? Fan Xian has only heard a few things. Heard that when he entered the city, he was confronted by a tiger looking for revenge. They came at him with a vengeance. He didn't put up much of a fight. I heard it snowed that day. When the snow fell, it gradually melted in his hot blood. Demoted King Xiao, a loyal general of his generation. He came here in great style, lost in desolation.